Today, we're going to be talking about how I recorded 31 podcast episodes and videos in one day. So, the first thing that I want to say is, as you know, my podcast episodes and my videos are really short. So, that obviously helps. And I also want to say that I do them at the same time. So, I record the podcast episode and the video at the same time so that I have both. So, to give you some background information, what I usually do is I record 4 episodes in about 30 minutes. Like a couple years ago, what I would used to do is record probably like 8 or 10 in like an hour. And then the most I would kind of do is like do that for 3 days. So I record 10 one day, 10 the next day, 10 the next day. So now I kind of have like 30 in 3 days. But I've never done something like I'm going to do like a whole month's worth of podcast episodes in one day. So what actually inspired this was me reading the book 10x is easier than 2x. And the way that the authors were talking about their days, they were talking about how they use time very differently. And so the way that they broke it up is free days, buffer days, and then focus days. And so this is what I've done to actually implement this. I had a buffer day where I just got a bunch of stuff done. It wasn't like clear focus, but I was still working. And then I had a free day, which was yesterday. And then today was my focus day. And what I decided to focus on was to give myself 4 hours to record a whole month's worth of podcast episodes and videos. And what they talk about in the book is like this ability to get into the flow state because you're giving yourself more time. And so I really like to look at it as like an experiment. So I was like, okay, I will try this. So I want to tell you some about my experience. And then in the last episode that I'm going to record today, which is tomorrow, I will share with you just my evaluation of how the day went and what I wanted to do differently. So the way that I set this up was, like I said, I took a free day yesterday, and then this is the only thing that I planned for today on my focus day. And so they mention in the book, like giving yourself like 3 to 4 hours to actually focus and get into that deep work. And I noticed that that's what I hadn't been doing. I'd been doing like a little chunk and then a little chunk and then a little chunk. So I've never been able to like get into this really, really deep flow state when I was recording my podcast episodes. And so today I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. So what I noticed was after probably about like an hour and a half, 2 hours, I really started to feel in the flow, in the zone. Wow, this is amazing. These episodes are incredible. I'm having so much fun recording them. My ideas were so much better. And so I started to notice, oh, like a switch, like, oh, this is how I normally do it. And this is more like I'm still doing a great job and I'm having fun, but there's almost this other level that like I wasn't getting to. Another thing that I also noticed was there was resistance about the time before I started getting into the flow state. So my brain started to tell me like, oh, this is too hard. We can't do it. We're not even on track with the time. So like it's probably not going to happen. And like it wanted to try to deter me from continuing. And so I was like, okay, well, we're doing this today. So we're going to see what it's like. And I noticed like once I overcame that part that my brain was trying to get me to leave, it allowed me to then dip into that flow state and record so much easier, so much better. And it actually helped me to finish before the 4 hours is up. And another thing that I did was I actually took breaks. So I wasn't like, okay, I'm going to just work 4 hours and record all these episodes back to back to back to back. I took breaks. And one thing that I will note is I took breaks before I needed them. So I didn't record episodes like, oh, I really need a break. Like I'm so tired. I'm like, oh, wow. I start to notice like, okay, yeah, I could use a break right now. And then I would just take it, even though I could keep going without stopping. I continued to stop over and over. I jumped on my trampoline. I went to the bathroom. I went and got more water. I also like stretched out on my yoga mat. Like I did different forms of breaks. I would also take just deep breaths in between each one. So I was taking like a small, tiny break, even if I wasn't taking like a little bit of a longer break. And then I would come back. And so I have really enjoyed this experience. And so I'm going to keep doing it. But I wanted to share with you like how helpful it was, what I noticed, what changed for me throughout this process, especially with a task that I know what it's normally like. So it's really easy to compare like, oh, this is how I normally do it. And then this is how it is when I do it this way. And I can see, okay, this way I enjoy so much more. Have you ever wondered why certain tools aren't working for you? Like writing a to-do list or scheduling things on your calendar or coming up with like your top 3 things you need to get done. If you feel like this isn't working and I don't know why, it's because your brain is in control of everything you do or don't do. And so where we actually want to start is with our brain. How do I get my brain to do something that it doesn't want to do? How do I get my brain to do something that it's actually avoiding? How do I get my brain to do something that actually is going to move me forward, even when it really doesn't want me to move forward at all? go to successbykayla.com to get access to this video now. Because when you get access to the video, you are actually going to learn how to solve for the actual thing that's the problem. It's not the way that you scheduled your calendar. It's not the amount of things on your to-do list. It's not that you didn't prioritize right. It's that your brain is working against you. And if you want to work with your brain so that it's so much easier, go to successbykayla.com to get instant access to the video now.